Anyway, yeah, she believes that giving weapons to a country to defend itself because it engages in conscription is ethnic cleansing, which, if that's true, then to be clear, we ethnically cleansed ourselves during World War I. We ethnically cleansed ourselves during the Civil War. We ethnically cleansed ourselves during World War II and I. We ethnically cleansed ourselves during Korea, because I do believe we had some conscription during Korea. We ethnically cleansed ourselves during Vietnam. Like, what is the ethnicity that Ukraine is cleansing? There is no ethnicity that Ukraine is cleansing. So she just means that, oh, conscription and casualties equals ethnic cleansing. Well, then under this argument, to be clear, if we were invaded by China, we would just need to hope that the patriotism of the American people would create so much patriotism and so much support for the war, we would never engage in conscription. And if we did, that'd be the ethnic cleansing of the United States. It's a ridiculous standard. She's just, I mean, I don't think she really cares much about the term ethnic cleansing and its seriousness in being used. Well, let's look at some other stuff. Where is the stuff about World War II? Oh, retweeting David Sachs, because of course. Here we go. Did you know that when Dresden was incinerated back in 1945, it was Ash Wednesday? Christians were burned alive on Ash Wednesday. Many of them were refugees from Stalin's Christian Holocaust. Christians were no longer to be told that we aren't allowed to know or discuss our history. Dresden was bombed over the course of several days, February 13th to 15th, 1945, as part of the ongoing Allied campaign against Nazi Germany. Ash Wednesday was specifically February 14th. This tweet, along with others, basically imply Allies specifically targeted Christians for bombing. So she does kind of set it up here as if, number one, we did it on Ash Wednesday to then destroy Christian refugees from Stalin's. This had nothing to do with Christianity. World War II had nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It was Christians fighting Christians. Like, it would be as silly as saying that, oh, World War II was about, defending the white race or something. No, that makes no sense, because there was the Nazi Germans invaded a bunch of other countries full of a bunch of white people and then killed them. Even like the Nazis who paint Hitler as a protector of white people. He killed more white people than probably any of the most anti-white racist person in the world could dream of. Both white Germans, and he killed the Germans en masse through their membership of military organizations that were of the Aryan stock he put up as the penultimate amazing white guy. Like, oh my God, these are the bee's knees of white people. And he put them into the war machine and grinded them up. But it had nothing to do with anybody being Christian. They were all Christian, except for the ones that were being brought over from India to fight, or people from different colonies, or the atheists in the Red Army. But the majority of the people who fought were Christian. There were Jews as well, but most were Christian. So that would the argument would have to be that Christian Delano Roosevelt and Christian Churchill, leading primarily Christian nations, decided to target the Germans on Ash Wednesday, a Catholic holiday, mind you, in order to, by the way, wait, give me a second here. I'm trying to look at the Christian demographics of Germany, and specifically of Dresden, because I don't even know if the majority of people in Dresden were Catholic. You know what? I don't even need to get that deep into it. It wasn't targeted specifically on Ash Wednesday. It was Christian on Christian violence. It had nothing to do with Christianity. And the refugees from Stalin's Holocaust were going in any direction that they could, including into Germany, but also that didn't include the rest of the people being killed by the Nazi Holocaust. So where is the Christian specific element here? There's no Christian specific element. I don't understand what she means when she says Christians will no longer be told they weren't allowed to discuss our history. What would be the history here? That Germany was getting bombed, and it also happened to get bombed on religious holidays, that they continued the bombing during the religious holidays. Hey, want to know something special? The Germans didn't give peace treaties with the Soviets on Red Army holidays. They didn't give peace treaties with the Allies during special holidays, religious holidays. In fact, Hitler, as an individual, was against the World War I truce. Do you guys remember during the World War I truce? It's like this beautiful moment, World War I Christmas truce, where during Christmas, none of the troops wanted to fight. They didn't see the point in the violence, so they all got together and they all played ball and had a good time. Here's a painted recreation. Yeah, Hitler thought this was stupid. He thought this was stupid. He was like, this is collaboration with the enemy. This is, you cannot philander and hang out with the people you need to kill. We need to shut this down. He didn't put pauses on the war for religious holidays. He didn't do any of that. So if Hitler hates the idea of giving pauses for holidays, why would the Allies go out of their way for Hitler to give pauses for Christian holidays that he didn't respect for anyone else? After he engaged in some of the most brutal warfare, if not the most brutal warfare man had ever known and has ever known since. And we're supposed to tap out for Ash Wednesday? It doesn't make any sense. Now, if you want to go against the idea of bombing cities, period, just put it aside. Like, I don't care about their industrial capacity to produce weapons. I don't care about how German cities were laid out when it comes to its military capacity next to civilian. None of that matters. Put all of that aside. Just don't bomb civilian cities or cities with civilians in it ever. You can say that. Good luck planning military operations, but you can say that. But that's not even what she's concentrating on. She's concentrating on the idea that it's Christian, that it was a Christian, that how dare the Allies do this on a Christian holiday when Hitler would never do it for us. He specifically hated this sort of thing. It wasn't specifically on Ash Wednesday, and the countries doing the bombing were predominantly Christian. Actually, no, the countries doing the bombing of Dresden was Christian. It was the British and the Americans. And the men who not only led said countries are Christian, but the men who also organized the bombings were Christian. When you want to talk about the generals. I'm just glad you have the moral clarity to admit what happened in Dresden was a sinister war crime. I would debate any person on the absurd notion that dropping nukes month after German surrender on civilian cities in a country that had been on defensive retreat for 2 years was somehow necessary to win the war. I'm not clear on your point about Israel, as it had nothing to do with the discussion at hand, which is a public consensus due to Turkey's conversation with Joe Rogan. I mean, was it necessary to win the war? No. Was it an easier way of winning the war? Yeah. Was it still, I mean, this is the thing. If you want to talk about the use of nuclear weapons in Japan, you also inevitably have to talk about Curtis LeMay's horrific firebombing campaign of Japan, of just going from biggest city to biggest city and just demolishing them one by one, crafting bombs specifically designed to burn down, and he tested them in the Nevada desert, Japanese wooden homes. But let's be clear, if this was a question about like horrible brutalities done to the Germans, it must always be done and said in the same sentence as the Germans would 100% do the same thing, and the purpose of much of it would be the entire annihilation of the population there.